So in the last adventure, we made our way to Dragonholt village by evading some bandits using our skill sets. And then now we've arrived in the village. We have our halfling companion who has found us a spot at her aunt's inn.
Something swan.
Yeah, the swan. You wake to the smell of freshly baked bread and the chipper voices of Miriam and Sapphire. Golden shafts of sunlight stream through the window beside your bed, and you idle for a moment before getting up, watching the dust float in the air in the morning light. With a yawn and a stretch, you rise from your bed and prepare yourself for the day ahead. As you step out of your room, you see that Braxton has also just stepped into the corridor. She gives you a polite smile and nod. Morning. You're just about to respond when Miriam comes around the corner in the direction of the common room. Good, you're awake. Breakfast is ready. It's a real feast, exclaims Miriam eagerly. Come on. It'll get cold if you just dawdle in the hall. With that, Miriam takes Braxton's hand and drags her.
Is it taken or something?
Braxton allows herself to be dragged toward the common room. You descend the stairs to the sunken common room. Sapphire is setting a table with plates. Miriam ushers Braxton to the table and they both sit. Take a seat and examine the feast that Sapphire has prepared. Large yellow eggs, thick slices of brown toast, juicy ham steaks, and seasoned pan-fried potatoes. No bacon. As you're scooping food onto your plate, Sapphire returns with 2 large pitchers, one filled with creamy milk and the other with freshly squeezed juice. Indeterminate juice. After checking on the other patrons, Sapphire returns and sits at the table with you. So what brings you to Dragonholt? Have you come in search of love, or... Sapphire gasps and glances around before leaning in close. Are you here for revenge? Braxton coughs and strikes your chest with a fist. Having choked on a bit of potato, Miriam begins laughing. The love of theatrics runs in the family, I see, mutters Braxton after a drink of milk. Sapphire blushes lightly and looks back at you. Forgive me. Perhaps I gossip with the neighbors a bit too much. Our choices are, we can respond by saying we're visiting an old friend, just looking for the next adventure, hoping to find gainful employment. If I'm lucky, I'm not the only one searching for love. It requires empathy. I seek vengeance on the man who killed my father. It requires deception or performance.
Do we have any of those things?
Empathy.
Yeah. I could just say that we're visiting an old friend since we are. Is that what we're here
We're
for?
coming here to try to find the lady from the letter.
Yeah, when we were hurt.
But nothing's related to that, well, except for the friend one.
Yeah.
That's probably the best. That's the one that's the closest to it.
And it's vague enough where it's like not giving away our...
Yeah.
Are we in a hurry, or just generally investing?
Pretty soon, all this stuff's going to start ticking off. But our time, we don't know whether we're going to be late or early to different things, so...
I mean, we could probably do the employment thing and, like, go off on a little bit of a side thing.
So since we're just small talking, I can just go ahead and maybe
Do what you want to do. It's up to you.
Sure.
Lead us.
I'm going to say visiting an old friend.
Alright.
Oh, who's your friend, asked Sapphire? I know most everyone in the village. You mentioned that Celeste has sent for you to come to Dragonholt. Oh yes, exclaimed Sapphire. Celeste did tell me she used to do some adventuring before she became a tutor for Lady Regina's kids. She comes to the Swan for lunch from time to time, though I can't say I've seen her lately. Last would have been, 2 or 3 days ago. I saw her going into the Chatty Archer, a lovely little tavern run by a nice human couple. Sapphire suddenly tilts her head as if she's thought of something. She looked quite frazzled, actually. She had her cloak drawn all around her, and I almost didn't recognize her. I don't think I've ever seen her like that before. Come to think of it, it's the first time I've seen her go near either of the taverns in the village. She's not at the manor, you might try the library. She spends much of her time there. The bells on the front door jingle, singing someone entering the inn. Sapphire stands. Excuse me, she says, and hurries off to welcome the new patron. Well, they seem trustworthy enough.
Sure.
After breakfast, you return to the room to grab what you need for adventuring into the village for the day. When you return to the common room, you see that Braxton is also about to set out. Many of the patrons have dispersed since breakfast, but a few remain in the common room, reading or mingling with one another. Miriam is nowhere to be seen. If you have any questions about Dragonholt, don't hesitate to ask me, says Sapphire. Where's Miriam gone off to, asks Braxton. Oh, that child couldn't wait any longer and ran off to see the old apothecary's shop. Sapphire shakes her head. Even if she buys it, it'll be some time before it's up and running. Nasty fire it was. Lorimore fire is nothing to take lightly. What's the Game of Thrones?
Lorimore fire is dragon's breath.
If you discover the hidden message in the letter from Celise. I don't think we did that.
I don't know how you're supposed to do that.
They probably would have told us you discovered it. I don't know.
What happened? What?
They asked if we discovered a hidden message in the letter, but I don't think we
We
did.
didn't know.
I don't know how you would do that. If there was no options to do that.
Can I see the letter?
Too busy slaying her.
I'll find it in that scene later.
Well, I don't know.
Find that shit.
I'll find it right now.
I'll find it right now.
Okay. Thank you for your hospitality, Sapphire, says Braxton as she opens the door to leave. Of course, hon. Good luck with the guards. Braxton smiles and nods before leaving. You're about to leave yourself when Sapphire stops you. Oh, I almost forgot. If you're going around Dragonholt without a map, you might get lost. It's a small village. But some of the alleyways are a real labyrinth. She produces a folded piece of parchment and lays it out on the counter. Let's see, she mutters and scans the map. Ah, here we are. She marks the spot on the map with the Swan.
Swan.
She spends a moment marking numerous other locations for convenience. Here you are, don't lose it now. She says as she folds up the map and hands it to you. If you have any other questions about Dragonholt, come back and ask me. This encounter is complete. I don't know what that means. This encounter is complete. Okay, here's the map.
It doesn't say where to go next after that.
Now, here's the info about the map. Use the map to choose a new it explains right now. When an encounter ends, we use the map to choose a new location. There's a 4-digit number. You will each take turns choosing locations to visit. When you choose a location, exhaust your activation token. You become the active player, remain the active player until the encounter is complete. You should make decisions within the encounter as a group, but as the active player, you have the final say on those decisions.
Okay.
Gathering info. You might wish to gather info. Returning to the Swan to speak with Sapphire or visiting the village hall are great ways to gather info. You might try visiting the local taverns to look for rumors. The encounters in this book take place over multiple days as tracked on the recording sheet, the tracking sheet. At the end of each day, an effect on the tracking sheet will instruct you to read a specific entry that bridges the gap between that day and the next day. The events might change from day to day. Special events might occur on specific days. Some locations will have the same or similar events on multiple days. And that's it. You can't gain the benefits of any single entry more than once each day. So
Right.
it looks like
I would be happy
How
to
is
make
that?
a first choice if I think the Chatty
She's
Archer.
Active, right?
no, it said my encounter is complete, so it exhausts my token, right?
I think you're still
I think
active
you-
at that point.
When you
That's
choose
how
a
we've been playing
location,
it.
exhaust your activation token.
Or you're already exhausted from doing that previous thing.
It didn't say, it wasn't a list of trials.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Just
then
leave it because,
Go ahead and make first choice for us, I suppose. Where do you want to go?
well, you did make the choice about what to talk about.
Which made me active, and then
Yeah.
this is not a list of, you know,
Yeah.
like,
So I think yours is spent. But once we go, then we'll come back to you.
well, we're spending it whenever we come to these red decision points, and there's not been a decision point.
Yeah.
Okay, well you're handing the book basically, but you did make a decision point. I think the way it was described is after you make a decision, which in your case was the what to talk about.
Yes, that's right.
You keep reading until something else, and since your thing had completed, now it goes on.
Let's
So I would
just-
say yours is spent.
Let's decide together, and that's good. That's fine.
Alright, well, I think the Chatty Archer
library
was the last known appearance of
Celise.
Celise.
I think so.
So that would be a good spot to check into. The library also was mentioned. So one of those.
Do we have any money or anything?
I got $3. But I'm not sharing.
in one experience.
Like for example, if we go to the smithy, could we expect to buy something there or not?
I don't think. Oh, here it is gold. We don't have any gold as a party.
No
The
gold.
gold is all shared as a party.
I thought it said that you start with gold.
Sure. I don't think so. I don't think
So
so. Maybe
Double check. 'Cause I skimmed. I didn't make it very far.
on
but-
character creation or on.
Yeah, it was. Or it was.
Scorned.
Scorned? What did you do?
Is there another? There's another rule book besides the character creation. I think it might be.
That's the one you read.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll scour it while we decide where we're going.
Biscuit's sister got a switch.
Oh, when can you
It
borrow
was the
that
one
thing?
with the neon controllers. Remember that one?
Where, anyways.
Mom doesn't fuck me over on anything. No, I don't know.
Where is it? No, that.
During your adventures, you accrue gold. Create. You begin the game with 100.
100 gold.
Thank you, Jeremy. You're right. You're entirely. We're choosing between Archer or Library. Are we going to vote for it?
Yeah.
Do we
Chatty
start with
Archer's
anything?
closer to where we are right now.
I'll just.
Just pop in for a visit.
On the
Maybe
way
a
to the
frothy
library.
brew.
On the way to the library.
I like to get good and drunk before the library.
So is this is a tavern or is it?
It's a tavern.
Yeah, we began with
It's not an
two.
archery.
It's run by a nice young couple.
We did begin with 2 things, so we're at 3.
Do things.
Fame.
Oh.
Free fame. So famous.
Famous.
Alright, where we're going.
Chatty Archer.
Alright, let's go. So I'm exhausted, and
Are you exhausted?
yeah, we'll just say from now on when it says the story's completed, then it exhausts you.
6,500, the Chatty Archer. An archery butt. What's an archery butt?
TTE,
With 2 B-U-T-T.
that's where you shoot into.
An archery butt lies under a maple tree outside this rustic lodge-style tavern. Several arrows are stuck within it, and others stand point down in the earth by the tavern's polished pine wood door. A strung bow hangs over the door, nestled under the awning to protect it from the elements. If 4 or more time has passed today, then we do ... Otherwise, the Chatty Archer is not open until evening. The encounter is complete.
Okay. Now your evening is going to be after. It's doing 2 time
Should I just,
per morning, afternoon, evening, and night.
should I just carry on?
Well,
Yeah,
no,
you
no,
have
it said
to choose.
encounter's complete.
You
That
have to
means
choose
flip
another
your,
place.
you flip your thing.
Oh, I have to put my thing on
You have
the
to choose
encounter?
where we're going, you know. I feel
Well, I
like
guess the library would be the next stop.
So, does the encounter take a time automatically?
No, I don't think so. It tells us when time passes.
Jeremy?
Where are we going?
And I don't think that's, we just stopped by, knocked on the door, nothing happened, we moved on.
So we're gonna need to go somewhere that actually.
I think the library would be a good spot.
It must be the morning. The library is probably
Yeah.
open in the morning. Is that what we're doing?
They just say the village hall would be a good place for
What time did that say? Maybe we'll keep
4.
that in mind.
4.
Yeah, because mornings are the first 2, afternoon 3 and 4, evening is 5 and 6. And
Okay.
Jeremy?
Seems like bakery is definitely open in the morning.
Well, that seems likely, yes.
just to be sure here, let's make sure we got it. You each take turns choosing locations to visit. When you choose, exhaust your activation total.
That's what I'm saying.
So Travis is now choosing since.
Well, I chose to go to the Chatty Archer.
See, I think you wouldn't have been exhausted.
Probably so, because it.
But he was exhausted from the conversation.
No. It literally said at the end, like it said, everybody rest or whatever.
Get your
Yeah.
store your tokens. It did.
Yeah,
When
it
you
did.
come to one of these, is when we're trading it off. A decision.
Well, no. If we exhaust to go to another place, then you're exhausted.
But Travis is definitely.
I don't think Dale's exhausted. Dale, you're not exhausted.
Well, let's just say that I picked the archer and exhausted myself. Travis picked the
Where do you want to go?
baker,
Library would be
and
next.
he's
But
exhausted.
I think the person who
Just thinking
chooses
Is the active player.
is the active player.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
why don't we? I guess I would prefer you to have chosen that one since you read it, and whoever's reading next chooses
Alright.
next.
So we're,
Takes the library, yeah.
Unless you don't want to go to the
Go
library.
to the library.
let's just say I'm done too, and we'll keep exploring and get it right this time.
So
We've
we
already
definitely
done
don't want to
training.
go to taverns, probably. Let's just do the library.
Yeah.
We're still trying to follow up on this.
When you choose it, exhausted is pretty much I think what we need to take from it.
I mean, I think you would have chosen
Mhm.
and exhausted, so you can read the library if you want.
We're good.
Okay.
I read the whole intro.
You did. I'm done. I'm done reading.
Alright, the library. The village library is large for a village of the size of Dragonholt. It features an antechamber, a main row with rows of bookshelves, and a few side rooms. On most days, one of the side rooms is used as a classroom for village use. If 4 or less time has passed today, read at 25:05. Otherwise, the library is not open.
Well, damn.
So good, that's good, we came early on. The library's main hall features a tall writing desk underneath a window set in the ceiling, and 4 walls covered in shelves full of books. Perched atop a stool at the writing desk is a gray-robed, gray-haired human woman spattered with ink, her quill scritching as she carefully copies out another letter. If it is day 1 and story point B6 is not marked, so and that's us.
It's not marked.
So we do this. But are we supposed to keep track of possibilities, or
Well,
we should
we're on
mark
day-
down. We
we're on
should be
day-
marking down the entries that we've read, right?
what I'm saying is like I can see possible things that would happen here on future days.
Yeah.
Should I try to ignore that, or
We're going to track time as we go, and then it'll determine which day we're on based on how much time has passed. It looks like.
okay?
So we'll be able to tell.
I'm gonna say that as soon as I reach a spot that matches what I'm doing, I'll go on and I won't read further.
Yeah, I don't think you should like
Yeah.
peruse the other
Okay.
entries.
That's what happens.
It's not necessary.
If it's met those criteria, so we do it. And we'll say Jeremy's token is flipped
Okay,
since he's reading and he's active. And we'll reset in a minute or two.
sounds good.
That's probably not that important.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just keeps everybody
Yeah.
involved. After a moment, she places her pen aside and picks up a sander made from silver chased horn, sprinkling a finely dust powder resin to dry her ink. Then she turns to you. "Welcome to Dragonholt Library," she says. "Can I help?" Her question trails off as she takes a look at you for the first time. She takes in your appearance and mannerisms with a critical eye for a moment before asking for your name. You tell her, and she blows out a breath she may not have realized she was holding. "Come this way." She dismounts her stool and leads you through a low door to a tall, narrow room lit only by windows far above you. "No candles or torches, please," she says. "A fire here would mean centuries of wisdom lost." She leads you around a long bookshelf, and you find that the room is not narrow at all, only blocked off by the enormous shelf. Celeste is resting comfortably in a chair with a book on her lap. "Celeste," says the librarian, "I brought company." "Thank the spirits you're here," says Celeste, springing to her feet and narrowly rescuing the book before it falls to the floor. "Thank you," she says to the librarian, who nods and shuffles away, leaving you alone with Celeste. And we go to 56:2.
Found her already.
That's quick.
"I'm glad you came," says Celeste. "There's trouble afoot, and I'm getting too old for trouble." Celeste doesn't look a day older than when you met her, but then again, she is an elf. "I believe her that someone is plotting against a noble family here. You might already know that the local lord is Lady Regina Fairfax, Countess of Dragonholt. She had, up until recently, 3 children, Sonia, Rochelle, and Philip. Regina is sick. She She seems a little young to be dying already, but humans will do that on you, I suppose. So her daughter Sonia was poised to inherit the county. But Sonia carried to me, and she said she had received a letter from her uncle Carrick, Regina's brother. Carrick demanded that Sonia renounce her position and support Carrick's claim to Regina's seat. Sonia refused him, of course. Days later, continues Celeste, Sonia fell from her horse, struck her head on a rock, and died. Not suspicious on its own, perhaps, but Sonia was an excellent rider. She was alone in the forest when it happened. I became concerned that Carrick had murdered her. I shared my suspicions with Timothy, Regina's steward, but that night I was returned to my bedroom. A heavy statue in the gallery toppled over and nearly killed me. Celeste closes her eyes and leans back, resting her head. So I fled. I already sent that letter to you, so I hid it in the village waiting. Mark story point with D6.
It's like a Robert Baratheon thing. Suspicious accident, a lot of family intrigue, and people try.
That's true. Celeste stands, brushing down her cloak and taking a deep breath. But nothing unusual has happened since then, and Philip and Rochelle remain safe. It would seem the situation is not as dire as I had suspected. For now, I think it is wise for you to acquaint yourself with the villagers and gain their trust. We will need them on our side if it comes to struggle for leadership. But right now, I will go straight to Lady Regina and tell her everything. Will you come with me? Option 1, of course, Elise, let's go now. Option 2, go on your own. I have other business to attend to, which ends the encounter and time will pass.
We just go with her.
She's going to Fairfax Manor right now, and one of the daughters, or one of the kids, died under suspicious circumstances.
Yes.
Yeah,
It
sounds like a lead.
That sounds like a trap.
It's like time passes.
Who tried to
we
kill?
all-
Who tried to kill Celeste though?
We
The same people
won't
who
know
killed her.
unless we go investigate.
Alright.
So, do we follow the pattern we played in the last quest, where we pass when we reach these points? Or do I keep going?
You're still active since I think.
When another choice
making
is
this
made.
decision means against somebody else.
And it said the encounter.
Jared,
so that was-
Jared actually has to be the one to make
Yeah.
the decision.
But it doesn't.
And I think it does split.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Jared has to make that decision. He's the one left.
I think we should just go with her, I guess.
And we're trading between encounters. too.
Yeah.
Hey, can you come hand me a napkin?
Napkin or napkins.
That was the
I'll
last
find the
split.
spot.
Okay, go ahead.
So we re-up
I
now?
think so, yeah.
We re-up.
Oh, maybe keep burning yourself.
No. I remember some.
Burning yourself. Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Philip.
Did it say how much time passed?
No.
That option did not pass on.
Did not pass.
We're still in the morning.
We didn't stay at the bar very long.
Morning of the first day. So we basically just walked from the Swan to the library, you know, within an hour or two.
Everyone have an enjoyable Christmas?
Give me a second.
Yeah. You go up north to Michigan? Or Ohio? Or where's your mom now?
I did not, because, well, I went to Cincinnati to play with the Cincinnati group, but decided to just come back and spend time with Corey.
Yeah.
It's not convenient for her to go to Columbus because of the dog allergy.
Alright. You got you.
Are you gonna edit the video?
At this point, this one, yeah, maybe a little editing job, 10 minutes in. I don't want to cut that. I just take death whistle. Oh, that was pretty good.
No.
I've never had a great anything like that. I mean, it's,
It chilled me to the bone. To the bone!
who discovered that? Pretty good.
Archaeologist does. feel like I saw a video on that at some point where somebody reconstructed that for the Smithsonian or something like that. So now let's take that with them.
They didn't do it adequately though, because it didn't even
Nobody
hurt.
died,
I heard it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, we don't know.
That's true.
Within earshot of that sound,
You have
it's
to-
probably some of the
You have to make 10 steps
Kill the things.
before it affects you.
Yeah. Or 3 days go by.
Yeah.
Like, you eat a poisonous mushroom. Everything's fine until your system shut down like 72 hours later. And then it's over.
Alright.
Hey, Jared.
Y'all can hear me, huh?
Beer me.
Sorry, I guess you cut off her finger.
All of it?
All of it.
Just
Huh?
flavor. It's just extra. It's just extra flavor. Oh, the death whistle did its toll.
That's the price of the death whistle. Death whistle.
The death whistle has come back.
Death whistle.
The death whistle. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Alright, so 2, 4, 5, 5, or 5, 4, 5, 5.
It's pointing towards it.
Alright, gotcha.
Here we go.
Jesus, this is long. You go to Lease to Fairfax Manor, where a middle-aged human woman in servant's livery opens the door for you with an expression of surprise. I must speak with the Countess at once, Matilda says. Celise. Matilda only nods and ushers you upstairs. With Regina's audience chambers lies in the manor's ancient round tower. The Countess's enormous black throne is empty, but the Countess
I don't
is.
see it.
Huh?
We're
I
looking
don't
for the
see a
round
round
tower.
tower.
Maybe it's
Okay.
over off from that.
But the Countess is seated on a carpet by one hearth. She's a human woman of middling years, with fair skin and enormous green eyes, almost luminescent, and a face more lined by pain than by age. The Countess has a round hoop in her lap, a piece of intricate needlework. My lady, says Celise. Celise, says Regina. I had wondered if you had quit my service. Please introduce us. Celise bows and introduces you. Regina inclines her head, but makes no effort to rise. What brings you to me today, my friend? With many pauses to word her story as diplomatically as possible, Celise shares the same suspicions. God, I can't read right now. As possible, Celise shares the same suspicions with Regina that she shared with you. As she speaks, a rail-thin man in a ruffled tunic slips into the room to stand silently at Regina's side. Littlefinger, yes. Yes, says Regina at length. Timothy told me much of this the day you disappeared with it. Was it Timothy? Sorry, was it Timothy? There we go. She offers one hand to the man in the ruffled shirt, who helps her to her feet with perfect form. Yes, my lady, I was not sure what to make of Miss Celise's suspicions, but I report them dutifully. Regina crosses to her throne and sits with a sigh. She gestures to Timothy and points to a writing desk against the wall. Timothy, the book in the drawer there. He goes and fetches a slim leather-bound volume. This is Sonia's journal. I have not read it. There are things that a mother should not know about her daughter, I think. But you must do, my friend. I do not want to believe that my brother would stoop to so reprehensible a crime as kinslaying. I will not risk my children on my hope that Kirik is still the honorable man who stood aside for me when our father named me her air over him. She presses the book against your hand. You gain Sonia's journal, marked story point P8.
Is that an
That's you.
item card?
Do I have
go.
Sonia's journal?
Does it say a letter?
Sonia's journal.
Oh,
Sure,
it's more than a letter.
It's a
How'd you know?
I looked at the components. Smelling good. Smell like her perfume.
Oh yes.
So please read it. Perhaps it contains some clue as to Sonia's fate, and perhaps you might prevent Rochelle and Philip from falling prey to a similar doom. She waves a hand, and Timothy rushes forward to shepherd you from the room. Her ladyship tires easily these days, he says. Thank you, we will speak again. Celeste frowns as she walks you to the door. So Timothy isn't the traitor after all. Or perhaps he's covering. Or perhaps there is no traitor, just rotten luck. She shakes her head and opens the door. Read that book and make it a point to get to know the locals. I will call upon you again when you are needed. 2 time passes. This encounter is complete.
Should we read the book?
It does say read it, so we should read it, yes.
Read the book.
Who's up? Who wants this?
So we're all active now?
I think
Yeah,
everybody should
everybody's
be
active, and that's complete. So we have to
Cassie?
choose a new place to go. You want me to be the one who chooses since I have it in my hand?
Should we read the
We should
book?
read that, yes. If anyone wants to read it, go for it.
It's a,
I'm
it's a
I'm
monster.
doing
Monster so
a poor job of reading. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Is there like a synopsis of it? Or
Notes.
Cliff notes, please. Casey,
Well,
read this. Give us cliff notes.
We could each read one day of it.
I'm just
Pass
read
it
the
around.
fuck out of it.
What?
Read the whole thing
Okay.
right now. Sonia. Celeste gave me this book for New Year's Day. I don't know who this person is supposed to be. And suggested that
Aha, see?
a long yeti. Celeste gave me this book for New Year's Day and suggested that a young lady of my station should keep a journal. It seems unlikely that anyone will want to read my thoughts in days to come, but I suppose we'll give it a try. So, a new year has begun. A new year is given to you. What will you do with it? Who said that to me? One of the priests at that school Mother sent me to in Highcrest, I think. So, what will I do with it? Get Mother to let Rochelle take a knighthood, a new mill, settle the Long Creek dispute with the Belmonts. I think it's time to breed Appledash. I know there's catfolk in the forest. I'm going to find them. Read at least 13 new books, Celeste would insist. Find a cure for Mother's illness. Sky Day, 5 Planting, 1851, Tree of Tales. I saw a catfolk woman in a red tunic run away from me. I don't want to scare them away entirely, so I didn't chase her for long. I've come to the tree to pray. I received a letter today from the physician in Greyhaven. He had nothing useful to say about Mother's illness. Mother insists that all will be well, of course, and that when her time comes, she will die, just as anyone else must. But she has barely 50 years. She is too young, and I'm not ready to be countess. Rune Day, 21, Planting, 1851, Fairfax Manor. I am considering dangling Timothy out a window by his toes. If only we lived in a proper castle with a tall tower to do it from. The man spent nearly a candle harassing me about taking a husband. And what if I prefer a wife, Timothy? Did you consider that, I wonder? And producing an heir. I wonder if he wanted the job himself. He's not wrong, of course, which is why I'm so angry with him. How dare he tell me true things I do not want to hear? Mother hasn't brought the matter up at all. She seems perfectly content for me to marry, or not, as suits me. Bless her for that. Wednesday for New Bloom, 1851, kind of sin. I should visit with the villagers more often. I love my family, but they drive me crazy sometimes. Today I played a cutthroat game of cards with Ursula and Sapphire. They're so polite to one another, I forget they're technically rivals in business. They were certainly rivals today. It's good to learn from both those women. They seen firsthand what comes to our village and have a better understanding of the flow of commerce through the country than even they know, I think. Also, I will always eat very well when I visit. Sunday. Galvin thinks he has found a likely mate for Appledash in the Cunningham stable. I'll have to see the beast myself, but I'm glad he's taken a keen interest. Thinking of the bloodlines of the horses makes me think about the country. I wonder about our goats, if we're doing all we can to keep those herds healthy, if they could be more productive. I wonder about our crops, are there better seeds we should find elsewhere? People seem so happy to just do as they've done in the past, but there may be a better way. We can breed our horses to be stronger. We can improve our country by bringing in new blood, or new ideas at least, as well. I'm grateful that we have so many wanderer gnomes, orcs, and others in the villages, bringing their connections to the outside with them. Tulips blooming in the gardens today, my heart is full. Monday, is there any useful information in this entire fucking thing? Moon Day, the 9th, New Bloom, 1851, Fairfax Manor. Galvin is quite correct. The Cunningham stallion will do very well. Count Cunningham even turned down a stud fee. I think he's hopeful I might marry one of his sons. No, thank you. Albert Cunningham seems less than thrilled with the entire affair, or possibly just with me. Fire Day, the 17th. Philip and I spent today in the village. Philip set himself up on the edge of the green with his charcoals and scraps of paper to keep poaching from Celise. And I visited with Mark, I don't know. The village clerk, Marquise, the village clerk, to go over possible sites for the new mill. The old one is too far outside the village, I think, and time has not been kind to it. Marquis is entirely in favor of a new mill, but has a host of reasons not to situate it anywhere I choose. He wants it to go on his brother's farm, from what I can tell. Which means Mother would have to buy that land back from him at a pretty price. I know the yeomanry are the backbone of the realm, and all that. But at times I admit I wish we went back to the days when the nobles owned all the land. Bitch. When I came back to check on Philip, he had that dwarf girl in his lap doing her very best to draw an owl. Philip is such a sweet young man. Some days I wish he was going to inherit the county. He's certainly not going to be a knight like Rochelle. In the afternoon I stopped by Fiore Brightmalls to see how Rochelle's new sword is coming along. I'm no judge of weapons, but she showed me that the blade is finished, and now it just wants binding and mounting and all that. The blade looks lovely. Rochelle will be very pleased. And surprised, I hope. Sky Day, the 26th. Notes to myself, if I'm right, Appledash should come this season in early green tide. Make sure Galvin knows to send her to the Cunningham stable for studying. Rochelle's sword ready, how to wrap it. Name day in less than a week. Sapphire says her niece is a good apothecary. Fuck that word twice now. Apothecary. Good enough to cure Mother? Ask Sapphire to send for her. I thought I had another note, but I forgot what it was. Well, that's extremely useful. Fire Day. This is my first time coming out for the blessing of the flock without Mother. Everyone's doing their best to ignore it, but I can feed them wondering where she is. I want to cry, but a countess mustn't cry. I did my best. The sheep are as blessed as I know how to make them. I wish someone would bless me. Stone Day. Rochelle loved her present. Name Day went well. I just heard that there's a new healer in High Crest, impressing everyone with her skill. She uses some sort of magic. I'm leaving immediately. Ooh. Sunday. I've just realized that Appledash is in fact in her season, and I've ridden her straight away to the Cunningham Stallion. Also, I'm regretting taking Deacon with me on this trip. Mother insisted I take a guard, but why did I choose the one who won't stop telling me all about his imaginary accomplishments? Just focus on the healer. This is all worth it if the healer is as good as they say. Moon Day. The healer promised to come visit Dragonholt immediately. I didn't even get around to offering her money. I tried to hear the temple instead. Even Deacon can't ruin this mood. Strange man stopped me on the street and asked my name, scar on his face. He seemed thoughtful when I left him there. Sky Day. The healer spent an hour cloistered with Mother in the shrine. She came out and shook her head and then sent me in to speak. speak to my mother. Handwriting was scratchy. Mother explained that there is no healing what ails her. My time is coming, she said. Everyone dies, Sonia, so I will die younger than most, but still older than many, and I don't regret a single moment of my life that brought you and your sister and brother into this world. So Mother's at peace with her coming death, but I'm not, damn it, and I don't want to be. This isn't fair. Rune Day. Only
Oh my god.
6 more pages.
But wait, I want to say something. The stranger with the scar seemed to be
Okay,
the
that's
standout there.
suspicious.
Indeed.
And the weird,
He was the bandit leader.
the weird new healer.
The bandit leader was the dude
Had a
that had a
scar
scar
on
on
his
his face, yeah.
Did anybody else remember that? I don't remember
Huh?
Yes,
Yeah,
the scar gleamed
Wow.
in the moonlight, yes.
that. Okay, awesome. Oh, we know.
Rune Day, the 28th of Greentide, 1851, Fairfax Manor. A strange letter arrived today. At first I thought it was a suitor because the writer said I was as beautiful as eventide forest. But the letter claims to be from my Uncle Kirik, Creeper. It doesn't say Creeper, I said that part. Who I've never met before in my life. My uncle suggests I not tell my mother that he's written to me because there is no love lost between them. I imagine not. I don't believe Mother has ever said 2 words about Kirik to me. I'm to write to him and Icarus if I want to know more. I believe I shall do so straight away. Sky Day, Apple Dash is back in season, so I just returned from the Cunningham's stable, riding a horse Galvin chose for me. A bit of a wild one, but I do like his spirits. And what should I find on my return but a letter from my uncle? But not a very nice letter. Kirik claims that Mother isn't the rightful Countess of Dragonholt. He is. He is.
Yes.
According to him, Mother is his half-sister, and bastard born at that. My God. So, by the laws of the realm, Kirik should have inherited the county from my grandfather. Kirik says that he didn't want to press his claim by force and wage war against his own blood, so he went into exile when his sister stole his throne. But now that Mother is dying, he asks me to back his claim and step aside for him. This must be a pack of lies, and I must speak to another about this. I'm in no hurry to inherit the county, but I'm hardly going to place the lives of my people in the hands of a stranger. Rune Day. Not sure how to feel. A little drunk. Helps. Mother is very handsome, so's his wife. Hunter. Mother? Hunter is very handsome, so's his wife. Mother more or less confirmed Kirik's story. She is my grandfather's bastard daughter and Kirik's older sister. But she claims that Lord Holland named her as his heir because when the country needed saving, she saved it and Kirik did nothing. He abdicated his responsibilities, according to her. Kirik sees a county as a privilege, something to own, but in truth it's a duty, a job that is yours for the rest of your life. And if you fail in that task, people suffer and even die. 4 words like that, a little drunk. Mother said that if she thought I'd be a bad countess, she'd pass the title on to someone else, but apparently she's certain I'll be a good one. I'm not so sure. So it'd be easier to let Kirik take the throne and go running in somewhere. I think I'd be running in. I like working in the kitchens. Water Day. I got into it with Celeste today, talking about inheritance and lordship. If Mother was going to pass over me for inheritance, if I were bad at the job, pass it to who? Rochelle? Philip? Either would make a fine ruler of Dragonholt, I think. But what if they were as bad as me? Pretend me. Maybe the best person for the job is someone the peasants choose themselves, one of the innkeepers, or the more successful farmers. They're used to making lots of decisions and leading large groups of people. Celeste said that what I was describing was called democracy, and it worked for some people in some parts of the world. But Mother couldn't just do that because her choice of her heir would need the support of not just the people of the country, but also the nobles of the barony and the baroness herself. And that meant it had to be someone of noble blood with at least a nominal claim to the title, so one of her children or Kirik. I talked the matter through with anyone who listened over the last few days. Timothy, Matilda, Gavin, Philip. Gavin thinks I should let Kirik have the place. I guess his father was one of Kirik's friends. Timothy reminded me that I should get married sooner rather than later. Matilda claimed it was all too much for a simple serving girl like her, which is her way of saying she wasn't listening. And Philip made fun of me. I think he was trying to cheer me up. I don't know what to do, but I have to decide, and then I have to stick to it. Sky Day. I wrote Carrick a letter turning him down. Hopefully that's the last I'll hear concerning the matter. Going for a long ride later. This new horse is still wild, but I'm learning. Stone Day. Carrick wrote me another letter. I think he was threatening me. I know Mother doesn't like asking men and women to fight and die for her, not after the two barons' war. But it's really time we mustered a few more guards. The country can levy quite a few good archers and spears in time of war. But that's no substitute for actual men-at-arms. And women-at-arms, thank you, Rochelle. Maybe we can attract a knight-errant or two, or create a knight household in Evesmore, or Hammerman's Cross? I don't know, it's scratchy looking. Sunday, does our library have a name? The library. Dragonholt Library. I suppose it's the only public library in the county, so it doesn't necessarily require one. I wrote to Carrick with yet another refusal, then I found Celise and told her everything. She seemed concerned and said she had some friends she could ask for help. Apple dashes with foal, so I'm stuck with this new horse for the foreseeable future. Galvano assures me that I'll be fine. Sky Day, here we are, the end. 26th of High Summer, 1851, Fairfax Manor. I need to take my mind off all this nonsense. Philip and I are going riding today in Eventide Forest. Maybe I'll find the mythical Catfolk village. Or maybe they really are just forest spirits. Timothy looked at me like I developed a bad smell when I mentioned my plans and asked if I'd like to take one of the young men from the Belmont or Cunningham families with me on one of these rides. What a pretty, petty little man. Galvin offered to saddle my horse for me today. How nice. Usually he insists we all do it ourselves because if you can't saddle a horse, you surely can't ride her. So long story short, Galvin killed the bitch.
Precious little info. Good.
Galvin killed her because he sabotaged the saddle when she died.
Alright.
Okay. So, Jeremy, would you like
Everybody
to
get
somewhere
all
to
of
go?
that. All of that.
Yes.
In your brains, because I didn't retain anything.
Alright, now what do you? Who's,
Would you like to go somewhere?
is it you?
No, it's all of us. We can all choose.
No,
where to go.
mine's
Mine ended. No, you're not. You're not exhausted. We just refreshed. You're not exhausted.
oh, we just refreshed.
We did just refresh, yes. 3 hours ago before that.
But wait a second. So it said to basically meet people.
Get to know the townsfolk.
Yeah, which seems like the tavern would be a good
Village
choice.
Hall.
But we haven't reached time.
We have to
yet.
kill. We gotta kill 2 more time segments before evening.
It said the village hall was a good place to go to
But-
meet people.
That's
The reason I said that is I think now might be a time to do something just selfish and not related to the mission.
Okay.
Alright, well you choose.
We have 100 gold.
Yeah.
You
pick from
choose. There you
The
go.
smithy, the orchard, the shrine.
The street.
The apothecary shop.
Streetwise.
I'd be cool
Probably
with the
open.
apothecary shop.
Our apothecary character wants to go to the apothecary shop.
Yep,
It's up to you.
we'll do it.
6,300. Ugh, no more journals, please.
I know, they pushed a lot of words all at once.
But hidden in there is the answer.
Some clues in there, yes. Well, we figured it all out.
The apothecary shop is a 2-story building featuring a large storefront and multiple back rooms. They show window fills nearly the entire front wall of the building, looking out towards the village green. If 5 or less time has passed today, read the entry below that corresponds to the current day.
It's Monday. May 1.
Moon Day.
The walls of the apothecary shop are darkened by soot and burnt wood. The front door and its frame are splintered as if the door had been blown off its frame by an explosion.
Whoa.
Several boards fastened in a sheet are nailed over what was once a large show window. How much time has passed?
It's just 2 sections of time.
The apothecary shop is not open at this time. This encounter is complete.
Dang. But it's like boarded up because there was an explosion.
Yep.
That's a village hall. Like,
Do it.
somebody go there.
Do it.
Jesus
You can do
Christ.
it. You got
But I think,
shards.
are we supposed to know when the shop is open? I mean, because that's kind of like I can see,
Oh.
you know what I mean?
You would have been in.
No time passes, so it doesn't matter.
But now,
You
Jen,
just have to remember
sorry.
when it's open.
Now Kafka knows. When we went there, maybe we just assumed that there's a little sign that says, come back in the afternoon.
Look, are we supposed to be like
Got it.
thought. If all of us take an action, we all exhaust. Does that somehow expand the user's time, perhaps?
Mm-hmm.
No.
It says it whenever time passes.
Alright, fair enough.
Let's
go
find a
somewhere
tree.
else.
We have to find a tree right
To
away.
sit underneath it.
Not to
You
stare
have
at
to
it.
pee.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
an oak
yeah.
tree, an oak tree. Yeah.
I
We need
think
a
we're at the
glade.
village hall.
Where's a glade for an oak tree
There is?
whenever you need it? Oh,
It's a willow grove.
what'd you choose? Great Hall.
Village hall.
Okay. It's gotta be open if it's just a village commons.
Almost there. Alright, the village hall. The village hall is easily the largest building in the town. A tall edifice of pale gray stone with peaked windows of glass at regular intervals. The main entrance is a pair of heavy oak doors standing at the top of a short but broad stone stair and flanked by a pair of columns. If 5 or less time has passed,
Mm-hmm.
read the entry below that corresponds to the current day. Day 1. A young woman with her hair in dozens of braids ponders the message board. She appears to be sounding out the words of the various missives posted there under her breath. Reading slowly and with difficulty. The message board announces that the next market day is in 2 days, and that there will be a village bonfire that same night. There's also a posting offering a shop for sale. Slightly damaged, the price is quite modest considering the size of the building and its location. You notice a weathered page that states a reward for a passing hero who can help with a goblin infestation. The hero is to report to Fior Bright Mall at the smithy. If this is your first time visiting the location while it opens, read 3367.
I think that does apply.
That does apply, yes.
Wait, right now or when we go to the smith?
It says right now.
Okay.
It said in 2 days is market day.
Yes.
Alright, day 3.
367. The town clerk coughs politely to catch your attention, then steps forward and introduces himself. Hello, he says. My name is Marquise. I serve as the clerk for all village business. He smiles an animatic little smile and tugs on his brown tunic. You just came into town and with that orc woman, no? If story point F7 is marked.
No.
Otherwise, 5729.
You've heard of Marquise before.
Yeah, he's in the journal.
He confirmed that yes, you've just come into town. Good, yes, glad to hear it. How was your journey? Uneventful, I trust. You mentioned the bandits on the road and the clerk size. Blast those bandits. I hope her ladyship does something about them soon. You also mentioned the fallen trees blocking the road, and he cocks his head. Oh yeah, well, we cannot have that. That road is our main source of trade with the outside world. He shuffles into his dock. Pile with ledgers and pamphlets and historical records, and flips through stacks of official-looking papers. Eventually, he finds one he likes and scribbles out a missive. Then marks it with a heavy pewter seal. That will do, he says, tucking the document away. We must clear that road as soon as we can. The encounter is complete. So you want to go to the smithy? Who's up? Who wants to go to the smithy? I think it's a Dale. I think Dale wants to go to the smithy.
Try to
No, no time passed.
I saw nothing of the sort. To the smithy.
Ooh, spicy.
True.
Hey now. What do you want, dog?
She took a 2-minute nap.
Yeah.
She's refreshed. She has half of her max stamina back.
Damn.
There
That
it
went
goes.
well. Where'd it land?
Can you retrieve
Is it gonna soak through my skin? Smell it. Smell it.
There will be no nicotine. It will
It's like
smell
butter.
good.
Buttery.
It's like a butter pecan, hazelnut.
Yeah.
Buttery pecan hazelnut.
Buttery. Buttery.
He wasn't on board with the buttery pecan.
Who wasn't?
To the smithy, the smithy. Oh, to the smithy, the smithy, smithy. To the smithy.
There's a lot of blood in your bathroom, you know.
Yeah, Casey's bleeding out apparently.
Yeah, no, it's like a painter's company.
She's fine.
What was the comment?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Which part is it?
If you get nauseous
Like that?
Oh,
if you get
yeah.
nauseous, let us know.
I'm fine.
Spoiler alert.
She dies.
Here's nonsense. Then we can make fried pickles.
Somebody had.
We'll always
Damn, baby. Change it.
Fine. No, I just need it. It's fine.
Can we discard the death whistle,
No.
death rattle?
Discard.
What?
Look what's up here. Which one's the blood? I mean, it's the bloodiest
I'm
situation I've ever
fine. I
had.
cut my finger
That's
slicing.
Drunkenly slicing pepperoncinos.
Yeah.
It's gonna start like burning here in a
It's
minute.
iron and extra
I
fire.
already burned. I cleaned it out with water.
Alright, we're going to the smithy.
At the end of the market row stands a low building with a gray slate roof and a thick chimney. Smithy. The workshop portion of the building sports clapboard walls easily opened to let in cooler air while the furnace is in use, while a brownstone annex hosts what you presume to be living quarters, offices, storage, and other necessities of the smith's trade. A polished silver hammer hangs from a wrought iron signpost inside the front door, inscribed with Dunmar characters. Wait, what was Scott? Dunmar?
Dunmar, yeah. It doesn't.
A bronze plaque is set to the wall with the same legend written in the common tongue. Fjord writes Small, the smith. If 5 or less time has passed,
Yeah.
a hot wind blows around you as you duck into the workshop. The roar of the furnace is punctuated by loud clanging and the in and out breathing of the bellows. If it's your first time visiting, the young dwarf man on the bellows pauses in his exertions, mopping his brow with a rag and staring at you with frank curiosity. The clanging continues for a few moments more until the smithy puts down her hammer and leans back on her padded stool. "What is it, Brill?" she calls. The apprentice on the bellows points in your direction, and the smith twists to glance at you. "Ah," she says, "new customers. Come closer. Let me have a look." She shifts a glowing hot piece of metal from her anvil with the aid of sturdy tongs and plunges it into a bucket of water at her side, then pulls it back out and sets the quenched work in progress aside. The smithy is sturdily built woman. The smith is a sturdily built woman, simply dressed in a light white shirt and heavy leather smock. Her auburn hair is pulled back from her face in a tight bun. Her only ornament is a bright silver necklace around her neck with a subtle purple sheen. "Fjord bright Mall," she says as you approach. "Hand me my crutch, will you?" You find a wooden crutch with a padded grip close by and offer it to her. She situates it under her left shoulder and swings herself on one good leg over the edge of the workshop, away from the heat. Her right leg moves stiffly at her side. I know what you're thinking, she says. I must have some great story of battling a troll to stand still to go with my injury. But I'm sad to say I was born like this. Sorry to disappoint. She settles onto a carved wooden chair and lays her crutch to the side. Welcome to my smithy. My apprentices and I can handle any work you need. Perhaps you'd like to browse my stock. I assure you, we weave right walls of the finest smiths south of the Dunmore Mountains. She grins and leans forward conspiratorially. And frankly, I'm better than most of those overproud duffers, too. Fjord directs your attention to our stock room, which is directly adjoining the workshop and filled with useful items. Trivets and nails and horseshoes. Oh my. Also swords, daggers, coats of mail, a vicious-looking warhammer, and a wide selection of other implements of the adventuring trade. Or, I'm available for special commissions, of course, idly fondling her silver necklace. Well, Bozarth is. He's a journeyman. His rates are much more affordable than mine. Purchase new equipment. We spend 25 gold from our coffers. Contact Fjord to forge a magical sword. We don't have a war room. Ask if there's anything you can do to help or leave the smithy. Okay, we need to purchase new equipment.
Sure, why not?
So there wasn't anything about the goblin quest thing.
Not
Yeah.
yet. No.
I'm gonna do that.
Here,
Hanky side.
Okay.
Here.
No, we're good. We're down to 75 gold, and now we're going on.
Oh, yeah, you're up. You might be getting the purchase.
Probably Europe.
Oh.
You might be getting the purchase.
I want to buy some
Item.
shit. Let me buy some shit. I want to buy some shit. Is 1856? Is that where you are?
Yeah, and now we all flip back up. Looks like.
Brill! Why don't you lend a hand? Says Fiore, and the young apprentice comes jogging over to escort you through the stock room. With his assistance, he sampled a wide variety of bucklers, braces, blades, and bludgeons, and make your selections, choosing a variety of new enhancements to your arsenal. Mark 3 progress in combat training. Oh my. Is that for the crowd, the crew?
It doesn't say each.
Time passes bigger than shit.
Oh, that's as a
Just
group.
one?
Just one.
The combat training is as a group.
Yeah, it's right here.
It
I'm
It's complete.
That was quick.
Thank you. Thank you. It's now it's complete.
Alright, so now we.
So the equipment that we got help us with combat.
Yeah.
So now we have to go somewhere new. Where to?
We're trying to just explore.
How much time has passed?
We have passed, it's mid-afternoon, 3 sections of time.
Only 3 seconds of time. Too early to go to the Chatty Orchard.
We could do the green maybe to see the people.
Maybe just going out in the streets.
Well, market isn't until Wednesday.
Maybe we go down the streets and we just yell, "We need a quest!"
We look for somebody that has something floating above their head.
Right.
Yeah.
See if there's anybody with an exclamation point floating above their head.
Village Green?
There's the roads.
You choose. Yeah, the road.
I'll take the Village Green, I guess. 290. Thank you,
I think
thank
it should
you.
be
Should I be
the
exhausted?
village brown.
Should I be
Thank you.
exhausted? Did I do the thing?
We just flipped. So.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't do a thing yet.
Sweet.
The Village Green is a common meeting place for much of the village. It features a small pond, a well, a fire pit where the village holds frequent bonfires, and a pended area for livestock. Though much of the livestock brought to the green are left to the wander and graze. Read the entry below that corresponds to the current day, day 1. As you enter the green, a small horde of ducks runs quacking away from you, settling down to grumble to one another once their safety out of reach. Why is that even a thing? A few villagers walk along the edge of the green on their own business. Lying in the grass in the center of the green, you see an orc man. His arms folded behind his head. If story point Z8 is marked,
Z8?
Nope.
If story point C2 is
No.
marked,
No.
but Z8 is not. Otherwise, 2, 2, 10, 2,
2210.
2, 2, 10. 11, 2, 10. As you draw closer, you see that the orc's beard is completely gray, and his hair, worn in a long braid, is well on its way. Worn in a long braid is well on its way? Or whatever. He wears a simple loose tunic and wool hose, his feet bare and calloused, an animal tooth on a leather thong that's on his chest. Spirits walk with you, he says as you approach. You're new, eh? Staying at the Swan? Came into town with Sapphire's niece? The orc sits up and offers one hand. I'm Scala, he says as he shakes it. As you shake it. Not as he shakes it. I look after the shrine here. Talk people though their problems. That sort of thing. Talk people through their problems. He talks people through their problems.
That sort of thing.
That sort of thing though. He grins and lies back down. Lots of important spirit speaking, you know. I was just communing with the spirits of the sky when you found me. Then he yawns. You can't help but think that communing with the spirits of the sky looks an awfully lot like taking a nap. Mark story point C2.
C2?
C2!
C.
And we have some options here.
C.
Inquire about the spirits. Lie on the grass and watch the clouds.
Sound good.
Leave him alone and find something else to do. That one's the bad option because it has mark something, time passes, and then encounter. Wait.
Well, we need to kill time anyway.
Do you want to inquire about the spirits or lie in the grass and watch the clouds?
Let's do the one that marks time. We want time to pass right now because we're trying to get to.
It'll be evening. One more time passing puts us at evening.
Yeah, but we should probably talk about it, dude.
Alright, good idea.
Why would not have ketchup? I can't choose. It's Travis. He's the only one who's got green. Wait, you
All three of us are
We're all back. We're all back.
You just.
Does anything require a skill?
No. So, who wants it?
Spirits. I'll do the spirits one because I'm the spirit.
Can you go inquire about the spirits, please? Let me get some ketchup, yawns.
Well, the thing about spirits is that they're everywhere all the time, says Scala. Some are big, powerful spirits, others that dream long, green dreams and make the seasons turn, like the spirit of Eventide. He nods to the west. But most are little things, the spirit of this blade of grass, the spirit of your shoe. They care only about grass, or shoe things. The orc stretches his arms out above his head and thrusts one figure at the sky. But just because they're little, or far away, or simple doesn't mean that they're not important. That cloud has a spirit, and when the cloud is gone, the spirit will be too. But today it might rain on us, or it might not. And it's for me to listen and understand. He yawns and closes his eyes, and sometimes the spirit of the sun and the field conspire to put a man to sleep, and I'll listen to that too. So, we can lie in the grass and watch the clouds, or leave him alone and find something else to do. The watch the clouds thing is something we had before, so should I just keep going? With the watch the clouds?
Sure.
Okay.
What actually choose though?
It's a. Is it a choice with red? Red.
Somebody have to choose them.
Let's land it. Correct.
Wait, let me just double check. 5388. 5388.
And I'm expended. You lie back and watch the clouds as they march across the sky, twisting and turning as they go. The sun fills you with golden warmth. The sound of the crickets and Scala's snoring lulls you into a state of peace, and the vague shapes of the clouds become more and more distinct until they seem as real as your hand in front of your face. You see two people embrace, although you cannot make out their features in your dreamlike trance. A dragon flies across the sky, then doubles back on itself and devours its own tail until the wind tears it to shreds. Trees rustle and fall away, revealing a tall tower that crumbles and collapses. You take in each event the same calm as a still pool touched by a falling leaf. I think he dosed us.
Yeah.
It will rain tomorrow, says Scala, his voice jolting you back to your senses. A hard, fierce rain overnight. He nods and sits up. But that's not what you saw, is it? He runs a hand through his beard, then nods. No, don't tell me. What you saw was for you. May bring you some comfort or aid you in the days to come. Mark 1 progress in spiritual meditation. Alright.
Dope.
Hey!
Story point Z8. The last one, actually. Time passes. Cha-ching, we're ready to go on to wherever we were going. The encounter is complete, and I'm expended.
Chatty Archer, we go. I think Dragon's the only one up.
Alright, what's the Chatty Archer on the map?
Where's my token?
Over.
Token.
That's it. That's it.
It
That's it.
is 6500.
Where?
I don't know. I'm curious.
With some hot ketchup?
I may have think you're joking.
Hot ketchup?
Hot ketchup.
Hot
It is?
That's spicy.
Oh,
Spicy
really?
ketchup?
Did you add something or came out of it?
What number?
Caracas.
6500?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Is it 6500?
We're going to the...
Chatty Archer?
She's 500.
Yes.
An archery butt lies under a maple tree outside this rustic lodge-style tavern. Several arrows are stuck within it, and others stand pointing down in the earth like a tavern's polished pine wood door.
I don't know a lot about butts.
A strong bow hangs over the door, nestled under the awning to protect it from the elements. But. If 4 or more time has passed today, read the entry below that corresponds to the current day. Are we on day 1 still?
Yes.
You open the door and step inside into a warmly lit hall containing a smattering of oak tables and chairs. A long counter stretches the length of the left wall. The stools in a row on one side, and bar stools in a row on one side, and a shelf holding bottles of varying shapes, sizes, and colors on the other. If this is the first time visiting this location while it is open, read entry 8752.
Yes, it is.
8752. Ah, 752. Here we go. A tall human man with broad shoulders stands behind the counter polishing a mug. His sleeves are rolled up, revealing muscular arms. He looks at the door as you enter and gives you a toothy grin and a friendly nod. You new to Dragonholt? Asks the man behind the counter. I don't reckon I've seen you here before. He gives his mug a once-over and sets it on the lower shelf while with others like it. Then he slings the drying cloth over his shoulder and steps towards you. The name's Hunter. I'm the owner of this here drinking hole. You introduce yourself and glance around the room before taking a seat. There are patrons at several of the tables, men and women enjoying food, drink, and banter. Others are sitting at the bar engaged in conversation with a human woman behind the counter. Beside you sits an elderly human man whittling a small wooden duck. You look like the adventurous type.
Oh.
Me and my wife Leigh used to do some adventuring before settling down and opening this place.
It's a whittler.
Hunter gestures to the woman behind the counter. She smiles and waves. Leigh can fix you up something to eat if you're peckish. Just shout at us if you need anything at all. Oh ho, adventuring, eh? Exclaims the elder man sitting beside you. I have myself many adventure in my day. Spent much of my youth making day trips to Eventide Forest. Though back then it wasn't as dangerous as it is now.
If you have a wooden trinket.
The old man blows on his whittled duck, removing excess wood shavings. If story point V6 is marked, V6, like the engine.
Yep.
It is. Read entry 6622.
6622. I'm gonna use some of this.
6622.
Super good. Here it is.
Is that right? Asks Hunter. Tell us about it, Theo. The tavern owner sets a small bowl of nuts in front of you as the older man begins to tell it. It's a small bowl of nuts.
Thematic.
As the older man begins to tell you a story about climbing trees in the forest. You can tell immediately this story will last some time. Hunter leans over the counter to whisper to you, "Don't mind old Theodore. He just likes to tell his stories to anyone who will listen. Can't tell if he forgets he's already told the stories or if he just likes telling them again." Alright, we have a choice.
Yep, we got a choice.
Listen to Theodore's story, order something to eat, which requires you to spend 5 gold, or leave the chatty archer and the encounter is complete.
Hold on, wait. Did you use
So I think we either need to listen to Theodore's story. I have not used this action.
You're the only one, I think.
I have to step out.
Oh.
Alright,
wait,
we either need
when
to...
you chose our new location, didn't that expand your thing?
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't choose this location.
Who did?
Oh, I mean, I guess I did.
That flips us all back up.
Okay, so we should all be up.
And we just decide now and move on.
So we either listen to Theodore's story or we order something to eat. Or we just leave the tavern.
Can we not do both? Do we not order something to eat and then?
Moving on.
We did day 1, 8752. It's our first day. 8752.
What?
We're choosing.
We're Chatty Archer, day 1. One of them all containing a long counter stretches length the left wall.
Yeah.
It's your first time visiting the location, 8752.
I already read that. Okay,
I
whatever.
think I did.
We're in the middle of a
let's
choice,
just read it
yeah.
again because I forgot where we were.
I sort of missed it a little bit too because I was paying attention to Zelda.
8752. A tall human man with broad shoulders stands behind the counter polishing a mug. His sleeves are rolled up, really muscular arms. He looks up at the door as you enter. Gives you a toothy grin and a friendly nod. We did read this.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I finished.
Yeah, we got down.
It is marked.
Oh,
V6 is
adventuring A. I've had many adventure in my day. Old man blows on his little duck, removing excess wood shavings. Story point V6 is marked, which
Yes,
it is.
Yep.
Yes.
We got a 6622.
Is it possible to get into it?
Maybe so. And you just gotta flip through until you find that hidden.
6622. Is that right? Asks the hunter. Tell us about it, Theo. Did you start your shit up again?
We're good. We're going.
The tavern owner sets a small bowl of nuts in front of you as the older man begins to tell a story about climbing trees in the forest.
We did that.
You can tell immediately the story will last some time. A hunter leans over the counter and whispers to you, "Don't mind old Theodore. He just likes to tell his stories to anyone who will listen. Can't tell if he forgets he's already told the stories or if he just likes telling them again. Do we listen to Theo's story? Do we order something to eat, which requires we spend 5 gold? Or do we leave the chatty archer, which ends the encounter?" I think it's going to be one of the first two. Listen to the story, just order some food.
It's probably the food's just gonna increase our stamina. We're all pretty much at max.
We already ate a bunch.
I do want to point
that's
out
how we
like
should
though, part of the reason we came here to begin with was to meet Charisse.
Yeah.
Which
Oh, we've already done
at
that.
least. So at this point, we're just trying to meet people, and listening to a story seems to be meeting people.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
agree. This is a choice. This is a story choice.
So are you flipped?
I think we
flipped.
decided everybody should be flipped up.
Yeah, you picked this location, and that changed everybody. Then you
That
flipped.
re-upped everybody.
So now we
And so
decide.
now anyone can make this choice. Listen to Theodore's entry, or just order some food. I mean, I'll do it. I'll listen to the fucking
We should
story.
probably listen to the story.
I'll listen to the stupid
I
story.
feel like food would be like a stamina.
Yeah, it
Three
seems like
and
it would.
something like that.
3231.
Never mind.
3231.
Because we're not adventuring.
Theodore goes off on a long and winding story about his youth playing in the village on the edge of the Eventide Forest. The mill pond there, where the river flows out of the forest, was where we used to spend most of our time. We would catch frogs and then hide them where the girls would find them, just to watch them shriek. Theodore burst out laughing and shaking his head. There was one girl, though, Ursula. She never let our pranks frighten her. She gave as good as she got. Oh, I love that girl, but I never could tell her that. I used to write her letters and love poetry, but I could never give them to her. I took them to the tree of tales. I took them to the tree of tales instead. That's all that happened was. Out in the forest and asked the spirits to bring us together. One time I gave her a little wooden badger I'd carved.
We don't need no spoons and badgers.
Told her that it reminded me of her because she was fierce too. I don't think she liked that. Let that be a lesson to you. If you're going to compare a girl to an animal, choose something more majestic than a badger. But that was the closest I ever got to telling her how I felt. Theodore sighs. That reminds me of a story. Do we continue listening to Theodore?
God.
Show Theodore the wooden trinket you found.
Yes.
Which requires that trinket. Or leave before he starts telling another story. If we're going to show him the trinket we found, then someone else has to take it.
Sure, Jimmy.
I guess we have it as a
Oh,
group.
we're on...
I think he's the one that has it.
Okay.
We're on 32, 31 right here. Lower right.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we are going to show Theodore the wooden trinket and go to 1390.
No other reason to have the damn thing.
Your coat is smooth like a badger's coat. The water just beads up.
When you show Theodore the trinket you found in Evitite Forest, his story trails off and dies in his throat. My word, he says, taking it from you with trembling hands. He peers down at the wooden badger, seeming to see it more with his fingers than his watering eyes. This is the very one. I gave this to Ursula when we were both so very young. A smile spread slowly across his face, crinkling his wrinkles like a withered apple. It didn't have these letters carved into it then, though. T and U, Theodore and Ursula. You found this at the Tree of Tales? Hand trembling, he reaches inside his sawdust-covered woolen coat and withdraws a letter, stiff and dry, and crinkling with age and sealed with a dollop of red wax. I think the spirit of the Tree of Tales is telling me that it's finally time. Why else would you bring this talisman into my hands? She must have carved in our initials and placed it there herself. He looks down at the letter, smoothing it on his countertop in front of him. Oh, but I still can't bear to face her. I feel like such a fool letting it go so long. He holds out the letter, his voice wavering. Do you think you might deliver this to her for me? She shouldn't be hard to find. She's run the Countess in since her husband died. You lose the wooden trinket item. You gain the love letter item, C.
See?
Yes. Mark story point 03. I should probably
Got it?
wait a
No,
little
I
bit.
got it. I got it.
03. Sorry, item C. I'll wait for that.
I got it.
Because you're going to have to mark several things. So.
See? We gained the love letter. Lost the tree.
Mark 1 progress in heroism.
Cool.
Time passes,
Got it?
and the encounter is complete.
Okay.
One up. No, you're up. Dale.
Where we go?
That's
Countess.
The Countess Inn. I think we should go to the Countess Inn. Give this bitch a letter. Bitches love letters.
Yep.
Do we stop and play a game of love letter now?
Yeah.
I think so.
You want it or want me to take it?
I'll do it.
Alright. What does it count as then? 49? 42?
4,200. We have 5 out of 8 progress, right? Time.
That's
time.
right. It's mid-evening. The Countess Inn, a painted sign showing a woman's profile with a silver coronet, adorns this 2-story building. The ground floor is a pale red stone. The upper story is a sprawling half-timber affair hanging over the entrance, supported by thick wooden posts. Flower boxes filled with colorful flowers are arranged between the support beams.
No.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
Whoa.
You doing the whole thing?
Whoa. Nobody
Yeah,
will see us
that whole
tonight.
bunch of chicken.
That is the sandwich. Fries stay as
Say bye-bye to the frizzies.
ding, fries are done.
Pistachios left.
Would you like an apple power pack? Would you like an apple power pack? Ding, fries are done.
Ding, fries are done.
Ding, fries are done. Ding, fries are done.
The Countess Inn's common room is hung with old, faded banners, mostly showing some variant of a black and white dragon crest. The coat of arms of the various rulers of Dragonholt going back generations. The far wall is painted with an expansive mural showing a large tree that you take to be the great oak at the heart of Eventide Forest.
The 3-hour tree.
Its boughs enfolding the figure of a green-eyed woman wearing a silver coronet, presumably Countess Regina. The patrons in the common room are a collection of men and women of various races, all in their middle or later years, well-to-do, judging from their clothing. They talk quietly in small groups or sit reading or napping by one of the two hearths on either side of the room. You find yourself matching their demeanor, walking more carefully, lowering your voice, almost without meaning to. An elderly human woman in a green dress sits at a table directly beneath the painted tree, waves you over as soon as she catches your eye. "Welcome to the Countess Inn," she says in a hushed tone. "You must be new in the village. I'm Ursula. If there's anything you need, don't hesitate to ask me or my daughter." She motions toward a slender, ethereal woman in her middle years carrying a tray through the common room. Pretty young thing, isn't she? The only one of my children left. The others have all moved away.
Red fever. Dengue fever.
You offer the sealed envelope to Ursula, and she begins to smile as soon as she sees the handwriting on the outside. "Oh, lady's grace," she breathes. "Theo, you damned fool. It took you long enough." We lose the letter. She breaks the seal and spreads the letter on the table before her. "Candle, girl, candle," she says, and her willowy daughter brings a candle in a silver holder placed on the table to cast its light on the letter. Ursula reads carefully, tears beating the corners of her eyes. Then she stands, presses the letter to her heart, and closes her eyes. "I have something for you," she says, and steps to the door, almost invisible under the mural's paint. A moment later, she returns holding a time-worn cloth doll that she cradles with obvious affection. "My mother made this doll for me when we first came to Dragonholt. I had no friends then, you see, so she told me the doll would keep me from being lonely, and it has for all these long years." She reaches out and places the doll in your hands. Its colors are fading, but its stitches still hold true. Something about its crooked face seems welcoming. "I don't need this anymore. I won't be lonely. I want you to have it. Maybe you can find some other poor, lonely child in need, as you seem to be going about doing good deeds." Regain the cloth doll item. Marking a story point. Marking it. Marking K8.
K8. Not K9. K8.
One progress in heroism. We're really doing it.
We're really doing it.
Doing it.
She sighs
Doing it.
and settles down again in her seat. "I shall have to think about how to respond to Theo. Might be fitting to let him stew a week or two, but in the meantime, was there anything I can do for you? Get something to eat? Requires you each spend 5 gold.
Each of us? No, hell no.
Crazy.
That's pricey.
Leave the Countess in.
We ain't hungry.
And Jared, you're up for deciding.
Oh, shit. Wait, I'm up for deciding. Okay.
So, time passes.
Probably time passes the encounter completes, which means we just flip and then reflip.
Yeah. Early night.
Raise it back up. Alright, ladies. Who wants to swing the swan? Swan the swing! Oh, I'm the chooser.
You are the chooser.
Well, I mean, it's late night. We should probably be getting back to the end, right?
We should try the drunken hog before we
Form
finish
of the
this.
destructor.
Would you like to try the drunken hog?
Yeah. What happens is after day one's over with 2 more time passage situations, we read a certain entry and that probably ends this chapter. And that's a closing.
Okay.
Let's try
Drunken
the
hog we come.
drunken hog.
3,500.
hog. Let's get weird.
Drunken hog. Drunken hog is marked by no sign save a discarded oak hogshead. The building is low and square, its entrance sunken below the street and barred by a door black with grime. Its windows are greasy wax paper, and the entire building seems like it hasn't been cleaned since it was built. If 5 or more has passed today,
Yes.
it has. Okay, I'm going to read it below. The long common room was hazy with smoke from the hearth and the pipes of the patrons. A burly human man with a shaved head and a pointed beard is arm wrestling with an equally burly human woman covered in tattoos. A small crowd had gathered, excitedly exchanging coins as they wager on the outcome. If this is your first time visiting, okay.
There's a lot of first time visiting things that we might have to remember for
If this is your first time.
No.
That Hog Club.
Is there somewhere that we know where we've been?
If it's your first time at Hog Club, you have to
You
hog.
have to fight.
Well, the first adventure had a place, but this one, on the track,
Holy shit.
it doesn't show
Where Hog Club is.
The Drunken Hog's common room is long and narrow, its rafters too low and its windows too high and small. The dim lighting and rushes on the floor hide what you judge from the smell is a terrible conglomeration of sick and mess and spilled ale. None of the patrons seem in the least put on by the squalor, and the room is full of raunchiest celebration and surly, solitary alcoholism in equal measure. Against the long east wall lies a counter of rough-hewn wood, as much palisade as bar. Behind it stands a gaunt orc woman, her cheeks marked with scars too regular to be accidental. At the counter leans a tall man with broken veins and the red flush of alcohol coloring in his speech. A short but heavily muscled gnome man perches atop a stool close at hand. They appear to be locked in an argument. I'm telling you, Thelga? There's no such thing as gnome, says the human man to the orc. The orc woman raises an eyebrow and nods her head toward the gnome. Right? Yeah, he's clearly a gnome, sitting right next to the human. So what about Norman then? Norman? Yeah, that's Norman. Norman then. What's he? He even spells his name with a G. The gnome finishes his drink in one gulp. Yeah, man. How do you explain my sitting right here if gnomes don't exist? The man makes a face somehow between offended and pity. Don't be so hard on yourself, Gorman. You're just short. No reason to call yourself a gnome. He passed the gnome seriously. He has to be a gnome. On the shoulder. What? Yeah, seriously, he has to be a gnome. On the shoulder. Norman brushes the human's hand aside. Gnome isn't an insult. It's in my race, he exclaims, shaking his head. Alright, what about Sapphire? Or the new girl, Sapphire's niece? He trails off, snapping his fingers for a moment. Miriam. Miriam corrects the woman, the orc woman. The human man looks about, almost shocked. Who? The little one that just came to town with the orc? She can't be more than a decade old. what are you on about? I swear, Reginald, you're just impossible to deal with. He slaps 2 coins on the bar. I need another drink. Thagel? Thelga. Thelga. That's what it is. Thelga. Not Helga. Thelga. This idiot is too much. The orc woman behind the bar chuckles and pours him another mug of ale. Them pockets the coin. Alright, we got eat, drink, and engage in the tavern banner. That requires you spend 5 gold each. Leave the drunken hog.
Let's banter.
Yeah, I think
20 gold.
That's all you?
Yep.
You have fun bantering.
Banter.
I feel like we might maybe make an acquaintance out of this. I don't know.
Was that your token?
No, we all refreshed
Okay,
the
so
last time.
Banter.
who's gonna banter? 20 gold.
I'll banter.
Alright, you're on
Spend
the
20
right, left,
Let me talk to these
Right,
guys.
left.
Where you at?
middle, right. Over here.
Each drink and engage in tavern banter. 2038.
Good son.
Oh, 2038. You approach the bar and order refreshments. Thelga, the orc bartender, pours you a drink in a chipped wooden cup and ladles out a helping of stew atop a slice of stale bread and a wooden trencher. Only the best, she says in a leaden voice. You each recover 2 stamina.
We're at max. Everybody's at max.
Yeah.
You eat and drink and find the food improves as you drink. The crowd continues to argue and boast all around you. Read entry 7622.
Yeah, that was 5 gold each.
Got it. Yeah, 20. We're down to 55.
7622. At the bar, Reginald continues in his incoherent insistence as to the non-existence of gnomes. Norman, for his part, seems to have put that argument aside in favor of trading boasts with an old human man missing several of his fingers. The stories and rumors the two of them swap seem more than simply improbable. Listen, we have 5 choices here.
Jesus.
We can listen to rumors and stories. We can brag about our own adventures. We can argue with Reginald that gnomes exist, which requires the gnome race. Somebody has to be a gnome. No, sorry. We can look for an excuse to start a tavern brawl. Or we can finish our meal alone, in which time passes and the encounter is complete.
I think we should just fight.
You want to just start a fight?
I'm pretty fucking done. Like, we haven't fought anybody or done anything.
Yeah, this has been boring. This has been a pretty
Let's
boring
fight. Let's fight.
brawl overall. You want to start a fight?
Let's do it.
Anybody else want to start a fight?
I don't have brawl.
Do you have a
Ready to
available?
go. I don't have brawl.
Are you available to make that choice though?
Yes.
Is anybody else available to make a choice? I'm spent. Everybody else is good.
Yeah, I'm.
What do y'all think?
We're at like full stamina. We have
Maybe
full
it'll,
bellies.
maybe it'll give us some
ready.
combat training. Or some social practice, or some physical training.
If y'all want to start some shit, we'll start some shit.
Well, at this point, we're ready to start some shit.
Alright, let's start a tavern brawl. Read entry. Well, who's making that choice? Because I'm out.
The brawler.
I guess I'll do it. Yeah.
The other
Alright,
brawler.
read entry 9711. 9711.
This is the very end because it's like the end.
Ready for a little fisticuffs? I'm not actually because I'm spent. And I'm one of your brawlers.
Shut up. I got this. Shit.
9711.
You order a tankard of cheap yellow beer and look around the room for a likely target. Not far from the bar, you find an enormous human man sitting on a stool with his back to a wooden post.
That's not a good target.
He stares at the fire, watching the flames with a scowl until you accidentally stumble and spill your beer all over his colorless shirt. What'd you do that for? He squeaks. staring down at his soaked and dripping torso. I don't, he sniffs, dabs at his nose, and begins to cry. Great! He sobs. Suddenly a hand claps on your shoulder and you're spun to stare face to face with the gnome regular Norman. You made Tiny cry, friend, growls Norman, and you're going to pay for that. He roars, shoves you back, and leaps to the floor, shucking his vest and revealing a surprisingly well-muscled body. Fight, 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 roars the crowd. Alright, let's turn the 1200.
More fight!
From the back.
Jesus.
Watch your ankles.
Yeah. Oh, those gnomes. Yeah.
Again, way tired of
What's your
not in
coin?
the
What's your
room.
coin first?
1200. Norman throws a punch. You step aside. Someone throws a broken wooden mug at the back of your head. And the next thing you know, the entire tavern is a riot of fists and flying furniture. Reginald climbs on top of the bar and lays about himself with a stool. Lays about himself? Alright. Norman launches himself at a woman with silver teeth and wrestles her into a headlock. Two men, one bald and wiry, the other one with a thicket of gray hair, lunge at you, punching and spitting. Thelga, the bartender, lifts a stout oaken rod and comes roaring around the bar, waving it above her head. Enough, she bellows. I'm trying to run a business here. You lose 3 stamina. You lose 2 additional stamina unless you have brawling skill or endurance.
I'm a brawler.
Make 1 progress in combat training.
There you go. Yeah.
So I lose, what is it? 3, 4, 5. I lose 5.
That's
I
just
lose.
Jared,
It's
right?
not each. It's not each.
It's
Oh.
you, not you all.
No, it says you each lose.
Oh.
Each? Okay.
Yes.
Read it
So
again.
it's-
You each lose.
You each
what?
lose 3 stamina. Then you each lose 2 stamina unless you have brawling or endurance. So
I have brawling and endurance.
I lose 5.
I lose
You
5.
gain 2 then.
5.
Well, I just lose 3.
Ah, damn it. Give me a eraser. Alright, then it says markable progress on the
Combat.
He's got
combat
that.
thingy.
Tight.
Alright, eventually you, Norman, and a number of belligerent patrons, each nursing bruises and sprains,
That's
find
yours.
yourself foreseeably
The hockey smacked it over to
foreseeably ejected and hurled out into the streets of Dragonholt. The gnome brawler lies on his back in the mud of the street, chuckling to himself. Ah, he says, haven't had a good scrap like that since Riverwatch. Time passes, the encounter finishes. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We have one more time section before this day is over.
Alright, who's up? I just started to brawl and it wasn't even that good.
So it's down
Sorry
to-
guys, I just wanted to brawl. It had been fucking
It
like
is
boring.
down to me. Yeah, it is down to me.
We needed a nice like slapstick moment.
Yeah, we needed something. We've just been chilling.
Story development.
Alright, we went to the Dragonholt like you wanted to. So let's go. Just go into the swan. Close it out.
Did we close our tab with this one?
The swan's free, but the Dragonholt was not free.
It might be a good time to go.
I think we should
for
go
one. Like, there might be something
to a
else.
random edge space.
Or it's gonna be in the dark.
Willow
I mean,
Grove.
the
You
statues.
want to go for it, yeah. Anything. Willow Grove, go to the dragon statues.
Where was Applesauce?
Apple
The
Pie.
horse.
Apple Dash?
Apple Dash.
Apple Dash?
Where did she say he was?
I mean, I think he was just like there on the grounds of the Fairfax Manor, I assume.
Oh, water your food too.
We haven't been to the bakery, which is probably closed now.
Yeah, it's
We go to Market
late.
Street,
It's
but
late.
It's late night.
It might not be a good idea. I mean, it might be a good idea to go back to the Swan now and see if like there's any new plot developments in the evening time.
Yeah, it's pretty late now.
Yep. I agree.
We're down to
I
like
agree.
very little time left, so.
Oops. 7,400. I just we'll have to check out those other areas later.
We got a whole week now.
The Swan is a neat, elegant building standing on a foundation of gray stone. The inn rises 2 stories above you, its walls shingled with blue-stained wood, and its glass and windows surrounded by whitewashed shutters. The obvious care that goes into the building's upkeep somehow conspires to make it seem smallish and homey, despite being one of the largest buildings in the village. The common room is particularly quiet. A pair of patrons are playing a game that features a circular board and several pieces of wood carved to resemble knights, dragons, or other fanciful creatures. A human woman sits in a comfortable-looking chair by the hearth, wrapped almost entirely in a blanket and reading a book. So we have to go to 69 and 71. Wait a second. No. 6 or more time has passed, right? So we go to 60-28. You see Braxton at a table near the kitchen, leaning back in her chair with a relaxed expression. She too notices you and waves, motioning for you to join her. Alright, here's your choice.
This is all to see.
Join Braxton in the common room. Ignore Braxton and retire for the night. All remaining time passes and the encounter is complete. Or leave the Swan. This encounter is complete.
Let's just do the,
So Braxton,
yeah.
Okay.
And then now, go on. 6, 9, there we go.
you were reading in the 20s, or, the right section, right?
Yeah. Good evening, says Braxton. Miriam and Sapphire are finishing dinner. Just as she sang it, the 2 gnomes emerge from the kitchen. Sapphire sets a large pot of stewed potatoes and mutton in the center of the table and vanishes back into the kitchen. Miriam sets a basket of dinner rolls and a jar of berry jam beside the pot and takes her seat. Here we are, says Sapphire as she reappears with a pitcher of milk and a second pitcher of water. Dig in, everyone. I'll be right back after I check another patrons. Thank you, Sapphire. She ladles stew into a bowl. You serve yourself something to eat, and before long, Sapphire returns. How did things go with the guard? Braxton swallows a mouthful of stew. It went well. It seemed I could really use my help. The captain of the guard, Tweegal, thinks it would be good for me to start by teaching the others what I learned as a knight. It seems I haven't had a true master at arms since the war. That's great, sends Miriam as she stuffs a piece of roll covered with jam in her mouth. I told you you'd find some work. We can either say, congratulations, Braxton. How's the shop looking, Miriam? Or what brought you to Dragonholt, Sapphire? I'll just do this.
Okay.
What do y'all want to do?
I think we've been sort of ignoring Braxton
No, Braxton.
so far, so maybe go for that. We actually could have gone to the guards thing
Yeah,
today.
okay,
We
Oh,
didn't even
yeah,
go there.
we want to do is
It was too late when we got done anyways. So.
Yes, congratulations, says Miriam. She leaps to her feet, standing on her chair and lifts her glass. To Braxton, the new master at arms. You leapt to your feet, right? To Braxton, says Sapphire, raising her own glass. The 2 patrons playing their game also raise their glasses. I'm not a master at arms yet, says Braxton. I've just agreed to help out a little. Formally joining the Countess's guard, that's a big commitment. I don't take those lightly. Oh, of course. She stares thoughtfully at her glass of cider. What? You try and fail to stifle a yawn. Miriam and Sapphire follow suit, and even Braxton fails, folds to the impulse. I think I'll be going to bed now, says Miriam as she stretches. Big day tomorrow. We hope Braxton and Sapphire clear the table. Braxton and Miriam ascend the stairs together toward their rooms, and Sapphire checks on the woman reading by the hearth. The 2 men who were playing chess must have returned to their rooms while you wait. You stretch and decide to turn for the night as well.
Now we do the reading at the end of the day thing? Or?
You return to your room and turn in for the night, collapsing into sleep almost immediately. Your dreams are strange and unsettled, full of lurking threats and the shadow of wings falling across the land. cast by a roaring fire. You wake in the middle of the night, cross to your window, and look out across the sleeping village by moonlight. Eventually, you sleep again and dream of an endless forest and a plaintive voice calling for you. We recover half of our maximum stamina.
I'll take me back.
Refresh your activation token. Okay, that's obvious. This chapter of the story ends here, and you're ready to begin the next chapter. Read 34, 32. The end of each day marks the end of a chapter. The end of a chapter is a great time to take a break. You might wish to stop playing for now and pick up from here at a later date. Casey has probably finished preparing your meal.
Yes. Why, yes, she has.
So it would seem.